I'm 41 years old, and until last year I genuinely believed I had a stable, boring, dependable life. The kind people complain about but secretly want. I had been married to my wife, Laura, for 13 years. We have a 10-year-old daughter and a small house on a quiet street. Nothing glamorous, but it was ours. Every morning followed the same routine. I'd wake up early, make toast, pack my daughter's lunch. Laura would grab her coat and say she was running across the street to the coffee shop before work. It became a small ritual for her. She said their espresso was stronger than anything she could make at home. I didn't think much about it. The coffee shop sat literally across the street from our apartment building. Small place, big windows, always smelled like roasted beans. Laura went there almost every morning. Sometimes twice a day. She joked once that their espresso could wake the dead. At the time I laughed. Turns out she wasn't joking about the double espresso part. Just not in the way I thought. When I think back now, I realize how many small things I ignored. Laura started leaving the house earlier than usual. She used to rush, barely saying goodbye, but suddenly she had time to put on makeup. Not a lot, just enough that it felt intentional. I remember one morning she asked me, casually, "Do you think baristas notice when people look tired?" I laughed and said, "Probably not. They just want tips." She smiled in this strange way and said, "Yeah, maybe." At the time I assumed she was just making conversation. But she started mentioning the coffee shop more often. "The new guy makes better espresso. The foam art is actually impressive. The coffee tastes stronger when he makes it." I didn't even know there was a new guy. Eventually she told me his name was Daniel. Mid-20s. College student. Worked mornings. She described him once as very passionate about coffee. That should have been the moment I paid attention. Instead, I just nodded and kept scrolling my phone. Daniel became this weird background character in our lives without me realizing it. Laura mentioned him like people mention weather. "Daniel recommended a new roast today. Daniel said the grinder broke yesterday. Daniel works so hard. Poor guy." Looking back, she said his name way too often. But when you trust someone, your brain filters things differently. You assume innocence. One Saturday we actually went to the cafe together. That's the first time I saw him. Young. Maybe 25. Skinny. Tattoos on his forearms. The kind of guy who wears rolled sleeves and looks like he belongs in a coffee commercial. He smiled when Laura walked in. Not a customer smile. Something warmer. Familiar. I remember thinking, wow, they must see each other here a lot. He said, "Morning, Laura." Not, "Good morning." Not, "What can I get you?" Just her name. She smiled back in a way I hadn't seen in a while. That tiny moment meant nothing to me then. Now it plays in my head like a warning siren I somehow slept through. The first real red flag came about 6 months later. Laura started staying longer at the coffee shop. What used to be a quick 5-minute stop turned into 20 minutes. Sometimes 30. When I asked, she said it was busy. "Long line," she'd say while slipping off her shoes at the door. But the shop was across the street. I could literally see it from our kitchen window. Most mornings there wasn't much of a line at all. I told myself I was overthinking. People linger. Maybe she scrolled her phone. Maybe she talked to the staff. Then one evening her phone buzzed while she was in the shower. I wasn't snooping. It was just on the kitchen counter, and the screen lit up. A notification popped up. "See you tomorrow morning, winky face." No name saved. Just a number. I stared at the message for maybe 10 seconds. My brain immediately started inventing innocent explanations. Coworker. Friend. Wrong number. Anything but what it actually was. I didn't confront her that night. And honestly, I still hate myself for that. Instead, I did something I had never done before in 13 years of marriage. I checked her phone the next morning. She was asleep. I felt like a criminal picking it up. The messages were easy to find. The number wasn't saved, but the conversation was long. Months long. At first it looked harmless. Coffee jokes. Memes about caffeine addiction. Your usual double espresso today? Always. Then the tone shifted. Wish you stayed longer this morning. I had to go before my husband noticed. My stomach dropped. I kept scrolling. You look beautiful without makeup. Stop. You'll get me in trouble. Then one message that made my hands start shaking. I keep thinking about yesterday in the storage room. I sat there staring at that sentence like it was written in another language. I think my brain refused to process it. Because once you understand it, your whole life changes. I didn't sleep that night. I lay in bed next to my wife, staring at the ceiling while every message replayed in my head. Storage room. Across the street. 10 minutes from my kitchen window. I kept imagining it. Her slipping behind the counter. The door closing. All while I was probably packing our daughter's school bag. I felt physically sick. But part of me still hoped there was some misunderstanding. Maybe flirting. Maybe stupid messages that never turned into anything real. So the next morning I did something pathetic. I watched the cafe from the window. Laura left the apartment with her usual. Back in a minute. I stood there pretending to wash dishes. She walked in. Daniel looked up immediately. And even from across the street I saw it. The smile. The familiarity. After a few minutes, she disappeared behind the counter. 10 minutes passed. 15. When she came back out to the seating area, Daniel followed a minute later. That's when I knew. I confronted her that evening. No dramatic build-up. I just said it. Are you sleeping with the barista? The silence that followed was unbearable. She froze. Like someone had paused her mid-motion. For a second she tried to laugh. What? That's ridiculous. I slid her phone across the table. With the messages open. Her face went pale instantly. I remember that moment clearly. Not anger. Not guilt. Just pure panic. She sat down slowly. Okay, she whispered. And I swear my heart started pounding so hard I could hear it. How long? I asked. She stared at the table. A few months. I laughed. But it sounded completely insane, even to me. Laura, I said quietly, your messages go back 8 months. She started crying. Which somehow made me even angrier. Because tears suddenly appeared only after she got caught. The story came out in pieces. Painful, humiliating pieces. It started with harmless conversations while waiting for coffee. Then jokes. Then texting. Then one morning he invited her to see how the espresso machine worked. That's when it started. Apparently the cafe had a tiny storage room in the back. One day they kissed. The next week they did more. And eventually it became a routine. Her words, not mine. A routine. She said she went for coffee because it gave them an excuse. 10 minutes here. 15 minutes there. Sometimes longer if the shop was empty. I asked her the one question I wish I never asked. Did you ever think about me? She wiped her face and said something I'll never forget. I tried not to. That sentence did more damage than the cheating itself. Because it meant she knew exactly what she was doing. Anger came in waves. At first I was calm. Almost numb. Then it hit me all at once. 13 years. A kid. A house. All of it risked for a 25-year-old barista and a storage room. I started laughing again. That weird hysterical laugh people get when reality breaks. Was the coffee at least good? I asked. She looked at me like I had slapped her. Don't do that. Do what? Make jokes. I remember standing up so suddenly the chair fell over. You screwed a guy across the street from our home. I pointed toward the window. I can literally see the building where you did it. She started sobbing. But by then the damage was already done. I felt something shift inside me. Not just anger. Something colder. Like a switch flipping from love to distance. And once that switch flips, it's almost impossible to turn back. The next few days were chaos. We barely spoke except about our daughter. Laura kept saying the same thing over and over. It didn't mean anything. That sentence drove me insane. If it meant nothing, why risk everything? Why lie for months? Why sneak across the street every morning? I asked if she loved him. She said no. I asked if she was still seeing him. She hesitated. That hesitation hurt more than any answer. Eventually she admitted she had texted him after our confrontation. 2. Explain the situation. Apparently his response was, "I figured this would happen eventually." That line made my blood boil. Eventually. Like my marriage was just an inconvenience waiting to collapse. Laura said they agreed to stop talking. But trust was already dead by then. Once you imagine your spouse in someone else's arms, the image never really leaves. The worst part was the location. I couldn't escape it. Every morning I still saw that cafe. Same windows. Same sign. Same place where my wife had been sneaking off for months. Sometimes I saw Daniel working there. Just casually making coffee like nothing happened. Customers chatting. Milk steaming. Normal life continuing. Meanwhile my marriage was collapsing in slow motion. Laura stopped going there obviously. But that didn't erase the mental pictures. Storage room. 10 minutes. Back door. I even caught myself wondering stupid details. Did customers ever notice? Did coworkers know? Was I the only idiot who had no clue? Those thoughts ate at me constantly. And the worst part? My daughter still asks sometimes, "Why doesn't Mom get coffee anymore?" We tried therapy. For our daughter's sake. I told myself I owed it to the family to at least try. The therapist asked Laura why she did it. Her answer was frustratingly simple. It felt exciting. That was it. Excitement. After 13 years of predictable routines, a young guy flirting with her over coffee felt thrilling. Secret. Dangerous. She said it made her feel young again. Meanwhile I sat there thinking about mortgage payments and school lunches. Different worlds, apparently. The therapist asked me if I believed forgiveness was possible. I said I didn't know. Because the problem wasn't just the sex. It was the deception. The daily lies. The fact that every morning ritual we had shared was actually covering something else. When someone rewrites your reality like that, trust doesn't just crack. It shatters. Eventually the truth spread through our small social circle. Not intentionally. Secrets just leak. One of Laura's friends knew. Then another. Then somehow my sister heard about it. People started asking careful, awkward questions. "Are you guys okay?" I hated those conversations. Some people clearly blamed Laura. Others acted like I must have done something wrong too. Like affairs require equal responsibility. But the worst reaction came from Daniel himself. About 3 months later, I saw him walking down the street. He recognized me. And he nodded. Just a casual nod. Like we were neighbors. I've never experienced rage like that in my life. But I kept walking. Because punching a barista wouldn't fix my marriage. And honestly, he wasn't the one who promised to love me. Laura moved out 6 months after the confrontation. Not because I kicked her out. Because living together became unbearable. Every room carried memories. Every morning felt tense. Eventually she said maybe space would help us think clearly. Maybe she believed that. Maybe it was just easier than facing me every day. Our daughter splits time between us now. That part breaks my heart more than anything. Kids don't understand adult stupidity. They just feel the consequences. Laura says she regrets everything. She says she wishes she could undo it. But some things don't rewind. You can apologize forever, but the timeline of events stays the same. And unfortunately, our timeline now includes a coffee shop across the street and a storage room that destroyed a family. It's been a year now. I'm still living in the same apartment. Same kitchen window. Same view. The cafe is still there. Different baristas now. Daniel apparently quit a few months after everything blew up. I don't know where he went, and honestly I don't care. Sometimes I still catch myself staring at that place in the mornings, thinking about how something so ordinary can hide something so destructive. A cup of coffee. 10 minutes. A lie repeated enough times to feel normal. People always imagine affairs happening in hotels or secret trips. Not in a storage room 50 feet from your front door. I don't know if Laura and I will ever reconcile. Right now we're just distant, polite co-parents. But if I learn anything from this, it's this. Sometimes the person you trust most isn't going somewhere far away to betray you. Sometimes they're just walking across the street.